Maybe you should start using soap on that side.
What's
true.
soap?
Yeah. What is that?
What is soap?
You mean like soap shoes?
I mean, I saw a movie about soap once, but there was a lot of fighting in it. All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the RRBG. I am here with Greg Alprin and Nick Scopoletti,
Yeah.
Mangina Dialogues podcast. How are you guys?
What's up, dude?
We're doing well, dude. We're doing okay. Greg's recovering from COVID and his sex change operation.
It's going great. Going great.
Should I put on a mask?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
feel like you should be wearing a mask right now.
You can wear a mask, just don't wear any pants.
Don't wear pants. Dude, it's funny. I've been working from home now for about a year. How long has it been? But
Almost, yeah.
the bosses were like, eventually if we end up going back to the office ever, and I'm like, I don't want that anymore.
I know,
I'm
right?
too used to working in my underwear, man.
Like I've changed.
Dude, every time I have to get dressed now to go out, I hate it. It's so uncomfortable to wear pants. It's the worst.
Dude, I have worn pants. I've worn pants a lot, but as far as pants with a button of anything not made of like nylon, twice since March 13th. I've worn jeans 2 times since March 13th.
I only wear them when I gotta go to the supermarket to get food, and even then, sometimes I'm just like, fuck, just Amazon some shit.
Dude, you're way overdressed.
Yeah, I guess I should just keep my sweats on. Fuck it.
You're giving those cashiers at the kosher Ralphs way too much. I don't want to say respect because it's not respect.
Well, there's
you're giving them like you're classing it up.
I'm classing it up. I feel like I need an excuse to wear the clothes I have. People keep sending me shirts. Like I got this new Liquid Death shirt. Shout out to Liquid Death for sending me water and shirts. That's awesome. But I don't wear shirts either. I've been shirtless most of the fucking pandemic.
Let's fucking do it right now.
I'm not Bert Kreischer. Nobody wants to see this shit.
I don't think anyone wants to see Bert Kreischer's belly either. But
or Nick, asshole and penis apparently all over Netflix. Jesus.
Listen, Nick, yesterday or the day before, I don't know, I was in a COVID haze. I saw some, I don't know if it was a TikTok video or his Instagram story, but Nick was shirtless on something within the last few days on social media. I don't know what that was, but what it did was it scared the shit out of me.
And by scared, he means he was turned on. And
oh my God!
Scared him because he was questioning his sexuality.
It was one of the nicest set of tits I've seen on TikTok. Guaranteed.
And that just goes to prove what Dr. Fauci didn't tell you is that COVID makes you gay. So.
Is it COVID or was it the vaccine? I forget which one it is. I don't know anymore.
Either one.
Oh, I guess I got the vaccine in the wrong place.
When you pulled your pants down for the vaccine, like the old days, just right there, right on the ass. I remember I was born sick, so I remember a lot. I have like a lot of trauma in my head of like being at the doctor and like my parents having to hold me down so that the doc can fucking give me a shot. Because I was just like, no, get that shot away from me. I can't resist it. But anyway, for people that are listening, these dudes, Mangina Dialogues, is an awesome podcast. You guys talk to some of the best comedians I've seen and entertainers. And Nick, you're a Scopoletti. That's Mexican, right?
Yeah, how'd you know, dude?
Nick is one of the top Latino comedians in Connecticut.
That's right.
Oh my God. Yeah, but you are a stand-up comedian and exercise person.
Yeah, I'm a personal trainer. That was
personal trainer.
That's my job that pays me.
Comedy pays you. You get paid to do comedy.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Not
right now. Yeah, right. for either job. I mean, I work at a gym, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, I think the pay is equaled out.
So what are you doing? Are you doing like the unemployment thing? How are you surviving?
So yeah, so no, I'm lucky enough. I work for Equinox here in Connecticut. It's lucky that it's a big enough company to where when we shut down in March, when everything shut down in March, they were able to keep paying us at a lesser rate, which was incredible because trainers, for people that don't know, like most personal trainers and group exercise instructors, you are 100% commission. There is no salary. That's not even a thing. Only managers and like the people at corporate have salaries. So they decided to pay their personal trainers and group X people at like 75% rate. And that kept us in the loop. And then we reopened. And yeah, meanwhile, obviously you could still collect partial unemployment. I'm still on it partial because it got extended to April. Because, people are slowly coming back to the gym. And now with like vaccines, people are getting more comfortable. Especially our demographic is mostly, Greg's age. So 90 and up. So they get nervous. No, just kidding.
I'm not nervous anymore. I'm coming in, mask off, no
yeah,
pants.
now you're ready. But it's slowly coming back. And even comedy, we in Connecticut, at least, we can have 25% capacity indoors. So we were doing some outdoor shows. New York, obviously, you can't do anything. But here we still have indoor shows, 25% capacity. We split up the shows. It's all socially distanced. You have to wear a mask. We do our best of sanitizing the microphone between sets and putting microphone condoms on there and all that stuff.
That's
so
fucking crazy.
It is what it is, man.
Gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, because there was that first stretch of it ended, when everything ended in March, and then we didn't get back on stage till 5 months later. And I remember the first 2 times on stage back, I was like, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I don't even know the order. Like these are jokes I hammered out for so long. And now I'm like, wait, how does that go? Like, so it was like a whole learning experience again. So now it's just about staying consistent and just not, I can't afford another 5 months off. You know what I mean? Or another like even month off. We need to find something. And we're just like, just go. We need something.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Trying, bro.
And Greg, you're the comedy DJ. Is that like the Gregalicious?
Oh, stop it.
He's trying to rebrand himself. He's trying to rebrand himself now. Now he's the COVID kid.
The COVID kid.
That's a great one. There you go, Nick. It's funny. I absolutely I hate to even say it, but I don't like the Gregalicious as a moniker. I really don't. Like, it started out kind of as a goof and a joke, and it's sort of like built this persona that is not really me. Right? But then I was too fucking invested in it to like get away from it, right? So it's been now like 4 years of really like promoting this Gregalicious character.
You have your own enamel pin, bro.
Dude, it's from fucking Mauricio. Now that's a legit enamel pin, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's Rockin' Pins. Yeah. Shout out to my buddy Mauricio who made that pin for me, which is probably the greatest thing I've ever fucking owned ever. I'll have to send you one.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome that dude. Rockin' Pins makes really great enamel pins for comic legends. The Brody one. Everyone they know what they're doing.
Yeah, he definitely does. It's not just comedy too. He does music. He does characters. Beavis and Butthead, not Family Guy. King of the Hill is one of his big things.
And he got the official license, right? For
totally.
Beavis and Butthead. So
he's legit. Rockin' Pins. Check him out on Instagram. Yeah. He made me a pin, right? So I was like, oh fuck, now I'm invested into this. I have a pin from like the legit pin guy in the comedy world. Yeah. Like, he's got my pin. I got the Brody pin, the Joey pin, the fucking Fitzsimmons, but like, the guy is the guy. I'm like, shit, now I'm invested in this fucking thing. Like, and so I made up all these stickers, and I really am to blame for it, of course, but I've tried to get away from it. And I even did an Instagram poll like, hey, is it time that we put the Gregalicious to bed? right? And I was hoping that it would get an overwhelming response like, yes, you're too old to call yourself Alicious. Like, it's ridiculous already, you fucking asshole. Like, I was really hoping for that, and I got the opposite.
Yep. Everybody wants you to be the Gregalicious, man.
Like, are you kidding me? You can't get rid of the Gregalicious now. We have a sticker on our fucking Jeep with
I
the
paid for that
Gregalicious
pin.
Like, you have those pins. You have the pins.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. I even today like did a new logo for us, and I sent it to Nick. I'm like, Nick, what do you think of this? And he was like, I love it. You're giving up the Gregalicious, huh? And I'm like, I'm trying so hard.
You know what it was? This is why he's giving it up, is because when we started doing this podcast last or even
July.
No, it was July 2019. I keep thinking it's 2020, but July 2019. You know, he would have to, like, you know, we started in the beginning, it was like local comics and whatever, and then we started having like legit people on. And Greg, I would watch him on Zooms as he had to introduce himself as the Gregalicious, and you could just see him like he wanted to die. Like, we had like you know, it depended on who we had on. If we had, I say, like a Jay Moore, like a Jamie Kennedy, and he's like, I'm the Gregalicious. And he was just like, and I was like, yeah, you're embarrassed. Fuck you.
Oh my God, so embarrassed. Like, I think the most embarrassed I was when we had Guar on. Right, so we had Guar on.
Nah, they would love that,
dude. Full
We're all
costume,
about characters, dude.
Full costume, like, and I'm like, I'm the Gregalicious.
You know what it is? You got to get yourself a costume while you're the Gregalicious.
I thought about it. I honestly, and we were talking before about Slipknot, right? And we had Blothar on right after Halloween, right? The timing was, it was around when they put out the they had their Halloween special. And on their anniversary special came out, which was awesome. I don't know if you saw it, but it's great.
I haven't seen it. Check it out.
I was like, I got to get a mask. And I did. I went everywhere to try to get one of those Slipknot Halloween masks. And I couldn't find one. And I didn't want to buy a shitty one off of like Amazon. And I tried to find like one of the legit Slipknot masks, and I just couldn't get it in time.
Yeah, fuck.
I really wanted it. But anyway, that's the tale of the Gregalicious.
I have a similar thing with the rock and roll beer guy thing. Like, that's why I shortened the name of the show to RRBG, because it used to just be the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast, and
right.
It was just at first it was like I've said it before, it's a joke from my buddy, and I was like, all right, that, you know what I mean? It's marketable. Like, seems marketable. People, it's catchy, whatever it is. So we went with it, and then it kind of just blew up. And like I've had issues when I reach out to certain musicians I want to talk to, where they'll write back with like, sorry, I don't drink beer. Like, it's not a beer show. I mean, I'm the rock and roll beer guy, I guess, but you know, we don't have to talk about rock and roll and beer.
Hey, dude, you want to talk about a name you present to people? Talk about our fucking podcast.
The Mangina
Dialogue. Like, hey, we're the Mangina Dialogues. Like, fuck you.
Oh, it's happened, man. It's happened.
It's even like, I can't even believe some of the guests we've had on that I'm like, you heard the name, right? And they're like, yep. I'm like, okay.
You say so.
we had on who is it, Nick? Joan Blades, who's the founder of MoveOn.org, right? Which is like a ridiculously well-respected, change organization, right?
That one I was shocked at. That's a good one to bring up.
Oh yeah, like
that was the best one, probably.
I couldn't believe it. Like how that she said yes. I'm like, you know that it's an M, not a V. Right in our name. Yeah.
And she's like, men, and she's like, there's no such thing as gender. Men have vaginas too. And you're like, well, okay.
It's interesting telling people the name, because we do get some stuff like that, and there's a few female comics who have said no, because of the name. I'm not going to say who they are, but
it was.
I get it.
I definitely. No, I'm just kidding. I don't say the name, but it was definitely.
It was Annie Letterman.
Annie Letterman. Damn you.
She's
That's
so
not-
against it. No, I'm just
that's
kidding.
not-
It was not Annie Letterman.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not because of the name, right? I know you've been pestering her to come on.
No, I'm joking about Annie.
Yeah.
No,
She's
Annie's
the
great,
last
man.
one.
Yeah.
Last one that would have an issue with the name.
Yeah, man. And so I've been paying attention to your podcast and jumping into the comedy more and more. And I don't know if the listeners are even keeping up anymore with me with like switching it up on them from musicians to comedians to whatever. But I enjoy what you guys do, even though the name, like you said, it can be off-putting to, I guess, some people. But it's fucking comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one thing I've learned a lot hanging out at the store and being a part of like helping out Tony with Kill Tony and like just being there even now during the pandemic. I was I was one of 6 people in the Comedy Store when fucking Kill Tony's was being filmed on Monday. And
Right.
it's sad to see that place not being functioning,
Yeah.
And it's gotten worse for me too, because like I moved out here for that, like I mentioned it to you guys on your show, but I mentioned that I moved to Hollywood to be close to the store because I felt my life kind of pointing in that direction. Not that I'm going to start doing stand-up comedy, but I'll do a few open mics just for fun. Like I don't want to become a stand-up comedian. I'm not ready for that life. The tour. Yeah. I don't have the time to. I don't want to disgrace the art form by not giving it the appropriate amount of attention I gotta give it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a grind to go from open mic comic to even a guy that can do a 10-15 minute solid set. Nick's been doing comedy for 2 years, maybe 2.5 years now, and from when I first saw him, I mean, the reason we're together is because I saw him. I mean, he was my trainer at Equinox, and then we became lovers. And then
I was gonna say, sounds like a love story.
Really, Billy Crystal's going to play him. Samuel L. Jackson's going to play me.
Nice.
And I saw him, and he mentioned that he did stand up, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to come see you. And he happened to be good, right? And then we started this whole fucking comedy thing that we started, and then it grew into a podcast, and now we're promoting comedy. We've promoted 200 comedy shows in the last 2 years. I mean, we really have spent our time in comedy in the last couple of years. And just seeing how far Nick has come in 2 years from a guy that, is doing open mics once a week, basically, to being a guy that can go on stage and hold his own in front of anyone. It's pretty cool to see, but it takes a lot of time and effort to really hone that craft, to just get, Nick probably has, I don't know what, 15, 17 super solid minutes,
but it took a year and a half, I would say.
Yeah.
I did my first ever open mic in August of 2018 and hammering jokes and trying different shit. And I would say at the FTC show I did in December of the end of 2019, that's when it was 12 minutes, but like that 12 minutes took a year and a half probably since the beginning, right? Because I mean, I'm trying shit, you're doing this, you're like this, I don't know about this one, I kind of see how this, and then it just all comes together at that point. And that was when that night honestly was the time where I was like, okay, I could do this. Like, this is, I think there's something here. I should probably keep pushing and just see what it is. But I kind of I always try to draw, the 2 things I've really only cared about in my life is training and now comedy. It used to be sports when I was a kid, but those days are over. But I always try to long time ago. If I got hit right now, I'd fucking die. If I tried to play, it'd be the end of me. Me and my friends always joke, we're 30, you're going to be 33 now. And we all played high school football together. Like, I was like, do you think you could like make it through one practice right now? And they're like, no way. Like, I'd fucking die. My neck would break and it would all be over. But no, what I was saying was drawing comparisons to comedy and training. Like, it takes time.
Yeah.
Like, most recently, it took me about 2 years just to get back to being able to do the certain lifts that I want in the gym. Took me 2 years because I had a back injury and whatever. So I like you got to grind it out and stay consistent. And I saw the same thing with comedy, but the payoff is it's awesome.
Well, that's what open mics is, training for your mind for the stand-up. You know what I mean? You're training for the stand-up. And, and like you said, a lot of people don't get that. Like the normal consumer of entertainment doesn't really understand how much work goes into building a few minutes of comedy.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny because these guys, and we have two other partners that are part of our comedy company, right? We promote comedy clubs with stand-up and comedy shows with Stand Up New York and Connecticut, and we managed a club for 6 months before the lockdown happened. And the other two guys are stand-ups, and Nick mostly is like, you have to host a show, you have to do stand-up whatever one time, and I have no interest. I don't have that performance bug, right, to be up in front of a crowd. I never really did. And I'm like, I respect it too much to, as a joke, go try to tell jokes.
Right.
As someone that doesn't really have interest in doing it, which means I don't have the dedication to practice. So to just go up and do it one time, to me, is disrespectful to all the people that take it seriously, as whether it's a hobby, a profession, a sport, whatever it might be. So for me, I'd rather not do that and disrespect something I care a ton about than just go up and just fuck around for 5 minutes as a goof. Like it's not, I don't have that. If I had a performance bug, I'd be a performer.
Yeah. And there's also the difference of being a comedy, because you're a comedy DJ. It's like you're into comedy, but you're not a stand-up comedian. Like a lot of people don't know that. They see a comedian and they assume that they can just be a stand-up too,
right?
Without practice. It's like, no, you can't.
I think I love people who, I spend a lot of time and have spent a lot of time in comedy clubs, and you always hear that one fucking asshole sitting next to you or at the table behind you who has commentary going along with the routines.
Oh, God.
Like that, like
people think that being funny with your friends and like the shit you say is like, oh, you're the funny guy. Oh, I could do that. It's like,
no.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. In my friend group, I absolutely was that guy, and I had a friend push me to do the open mic. But I've told stories in friend groups. Those people know you. Yeah. They've known you for years. They know the stories. They know the people. When you go on stage, no one knows who the fuck you are. And you're just a stranger, and then you have to connect immediately and get them to pay attention to you. That's why people don't get, like, it's not like I'm the funny guy at the bar. It's like completely different on stage.
You're also the asshole at the bar, and
yeah.
it's so much different for someone. What I was going to say is I don't have any tolerance for those people that are sitting behind you or next to you at a show, and they're kind of shitting on the comic on stage, who in most cases is a seasoned pro. Right. Mm-hmm. And you may not like their comedy, but don't have the balls to say that you could go up there and do that, which is what you're saying by talking shit about their routine. Right. And especially when someone says to you, okay, you want to be a comedian, go up on stage. And whether it's 10 people in the audience or 1,000 people in the audience who are all looking at you, expecting you to make them laugh, go make them laugh.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot harder than telling a shitty, funny story in a bar to 6 guys who have been drinking beers, telling stupid fucking stories for the last 25 minutes. Like, it's way different when someone's like, all right, you want to be the show, go be the show.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I would love to take all those guys out of the audience every fucking show and be like, all right, you want to follow Josh Wolf? Go follow Josh Wolf.
Good luck with that. Yeah. Good luck with that. Especially in the Comedy Store, man. That place is full of killers. And then and the crowd is all a bunch of wannabe comedians.
Yep.
They're doing open mics and they're trying to get their spotlights. Like,
talking. To draw the parallel in music as well. My father's a musician, and I stopped playing the drums when I was a kid, but I played from like the ages of 7 to 15. My father's played his whole life. My father played since he was 8 years old. Now he's 70. So he's been a drummer a long time. And I remember my father, he's played in bands. He went on the road with his buddies for 6 years in the 70s. That's what he did for 6 years. And when he saw me do stand-up for the first time, and a few times he's come, I get off stage and he goes, it's just you up there, huh? And I was like, yeah, I'm alone. And he was just like, you did a great job. He goes, but that's fucking horrifying. Like, it's just you alone. He goes, there's no one else. My dad's a drummer too. So we got to hide behind, people and whatever. But he's like, he couldn't get over the fact that I was just alone and I had to be the performance because he's always been a part of bands. He's like, that's fucking weird. He's like, you're just alone. I'm like, that's what stand-up is, Dad. You're just alone on stage.
Yeah, I guess musicians get to hide in the fact that they are in a band. You know what I mean? You get that comfort of, well, the other guy fucked up first, and then I fucked up.
But the thing is, when you're in a band, you can all kind of cover it up, and for the most part, no one knows.
And if you're doing okay, people are jamming.
They don't know you're fucked up, and the band is harder. The band is harder on themselves. Like
when you bomb on stage alone doing comedy, that's a whole different feeling.
When you're silent, when there's silence, there's silence. No one's. They're either laughing or they're not. There's no like. You go play a show with 200 people, and maybe like 100 are really into it, and the other 100 are like, yeah, they're cool, and like just drinking. But still, you got 100 people who are into it. You're playing music, you're enjoying it, and like you can't hear people like whispering like these guys kind of suck. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're playing music, you don't fucking know. But in comedy,
the only thing you got the only indicators when you see them leaving, like when you're playing a song and you see them just get up and move.
Yeah,
that's the only time when you get that rush of like, oh shit, they're not liking this at all.
It's funny. I had a friend that did a Zoom show on New Year's Eve, this past New Year's Eve, and I was like, all right, I'll watch it because one, I was fucking home sick, I had nothing to do, so I watched this Zoom show, and it was really the first Zoom comedy show I watched in its entirety this entire time, and the headliner of the show was Jess Kirson, who, if you're not familiar with Jessie Kirson, she is, one of the absolute best comedians on the fucking planet, right? She is so smart, so funny, a complete badass. She was on I think the first season of Last Comic Standing with Rich Voss, and maybe it was the second season. She's just a fucking killer. And my friend wound up closing the show. So Jess went on, and there was like 600 people watching the Zoom, because it shows you how many people are in the room, and then, or 300 or something. It was somewhere between 300 and 400. And then she does her set. It's 1:45, right? And then my friend comes on to close out the last 15 minutes of the show and do the midnight countdown, which had to be the worst fucking spot to do comedy in the history. Right?
Nobody's at that point. Everybody's drunk, waiting for the countdown.
and the headliner, who is one of the most talented comedians on the fucking planet, just did a set, right? So I'm watching.
That's a tough spot.
It's the tough spot, man. I was like, I can't believe this is the spot they gave this poor girl. So at the second Jess was done, I'm looking at the countdown, the numbers of people in the room, and it's quickly dropping. Right. And it dropped to like 125 people from almost 400. Right. And my friend, who was on stage doing it, working at the time, knew it. And you could tell she was seeing it too, because they had a big screen so they could all see this people on the Zoom in the club. And she texted me immediately after, and she was like, that was the worst experience of my life. Like, I'm on stage doing the show and I can see everybody leaving. She's like, was I that bad? And I'm like, well, no, it wasn't anything to do with you. You were just in the most impossible spot ever. Yeah. But to your point, it's like, you're even on Zoom, you can watch the room empty.
Yep.
Right. And it did. And it was depressing to let, kind of see that happen. But, what are you going to do?
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird time right now too with the Zoom calls. Cause like, I'm not as engaged when on these Zoom calls. Like we're having a conversation, I'm paying attention, we're talking to each other and all that, but it's not the same feeling as if we were to be sitting together, on a table. So the same goes for music and these live music streams that I've been seeing, and comedy. Like I have not watched a single stand-up stream. I cannot do it. I'm sorry. Like there's nothing like being in an audience for comedy like that.
Right. Oh, it's true. And I bust Nick's chops a lot about coming out to California with me when all this shit gets back, because I do. I spend a shit ton of time in Southern California, and a lot of time at the Comedy Store and a little bit at the Improv, but mostly the Comedy Store. And I'll go to the shows and I'll just text Nick a pic of the bill, right? And it'll say like Brad Williams, Joey Diaz, Joe Rogan, Whitney Cummings.
It's insane.
just as a way to fuck with Nick. And I'm like, ha,
what the fuck is this?
What are you doing in Connecticut right now? Look what I'm about to go do, dick. Right? It's like I'm so spoiled because you get to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just can't, to look at the Zoom after I've seen that stuff happen, is so hard to watch Zoom comedy when my frame of reference really is the Comedy Store, and sitting in every one of those rooms watching the biggest and best and some of the most unknown people absolutely crush comedy. So to watch it without that experience is hard.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And a lot of it to me too is the audience, man. I don't know what it is about me that everything I've done creatively, it's always for the audience. And I know that sounds cheesy. I'm doing it for you guys. It's because it's selfishly. I am selfish in that, like, I do it for you guys because I get off of hearing the audience react.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but that's one of the reasons I love professional wrestling.
Right.
The audiences at these shows give me goosebumps, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'll see some of these entrances, and the entrance is cool, but if the audience wasn't reacting to that entrance, I'm not that invested. I'm just kind of like, eh.
It's true. I grew up a wrestling fan. Luckily, I spent a lot of time at wrestling as a younger person because my father was a sports agent. So he knew a lot of these guys, and whether they were ex-football players or whatever. So we went to a lot of pro wrestling through the 80s and early 90s. So I lived through all of that. So now I've been also lucky enough to go to a few WrestleManias in my time. And for anyone that's forget wrestling fan, you don't have to like wrestling. If you like live entertainment of any sort, go to a WrestleMania. No, regardless, don't even watch the wrestling. You want to see an entertainment fucking spectacle to be seen at one point in your life live. WrestleMania is the thing to go to, because you want goosebumps on entrances. That's it. I don't care what you could be the biggest sporting event of the biggest team that you love. Nothing will compare to the size and scope of that spectacle. It really isn't. But any wrestling event, you go to whatever it is, except, not the last 10 months, it's like that. It really does give you goosebumps to see those entrances. And that's why it's been so hard for me to watch wrestling since April, because even though now they're doing a better job in the arena that they're working in Florida, it's still not the same thing.
No.
It's not the same thing to have piped in crowd and these entrances when no one's there.
Yeah.
It's
weird. When I see them on the top rope with the belt, and I'm like, who are you pointing that at?
Yeah, I know, the same way. It's like, asshole. Don't make it more fake.
Yeah, it's a little rough to watch right now. I think the best thing that they're doing is NXT. I think NXT, because they have all of the trainees are an audience, and then they put up these plexiglass in front of a chain link fence so that when you hit it, it makes a crazy amount of noise in there. So they're a small crowd, but they're making noise. And then you've got the screens with all the faces on people on Zoom, which is, I'm starting to get used to the screens because it kind of, I'm like accepting this cyberpunk future dystopia that we're going into.
Right.
So I'm just kind of like, all right, fuck it, let's go. I'm gonna start wearing just leather, cups for my dick and a fucking harness, going full Mad Max. Fuck it.
Who do you like? What wrestlers do you like?
Dude, I'm a big Bullet Club guy from Japan. Like, those dudes I don't know, I just love the way it looks, the way they treat themselves, the way they go and take over. So they've all kind of branched out over the years. So like Finn Balor in NXT is one of the dudes that I really keep an eye on. I like Walter from Germany. He's a fucking lunatic, 300-pound man that he goes out there to kill you, and you better try and keep up or you will die. Timothy Thatcher has been doing great because that's one of Barnett's buddies, and Barnett's a buddy. So I kind of just, I'm also a big MMA fan. So the more realistic the wrestling looks for me, the better. And I also still enjoy the crazy gimmicks and the entrances and the silly shit every once in a while.
I've gotten back into it the last few years, mainly because I started going to WrestleManias and because I do some work with WWE, and it just kind of got me like back to remembering like my childhood when I would watch, Hulk Hogan and the British Bulldogs and, Sergeant Slaughter. And it was so much of a stripped down version of what it is now. But when you're a little kid, that's everything to you. Right. So even now, I have my younger son is not that into it anymore, but still into it enough. But when he was really younger, like 10, 11 years old and into wrestling, just watching him like explode when he sees those guys come out, it's very cool. Like, I don't think anyone does entertainment better than WWE does.
Well, I mean, WWE does entertainment at the top level, but for professional wrestling, there's other. I wouldn't give it to them anymore.
Oh, no.
Entertainment, sure, but
no. Well, when it comes to the entertainment side of it, you can't beat what they're doing.
The Fiend right now has been great. I don't know if you've been a fan of that at all. The Fiend.
Yeah.
He's been. They keep fucking destroying. Like, they keep building him up and then doing something that, like, what are you doing? Which is
that's what I've never got with WWE is that how they cycle through so many guys.
They build them up to the point where the crowd's amped and then they cut them off.
Yeah, and then they all go to AEW.
They all go somewhere else.
I used to get so mad because I was a big John Cena fan, just because multiple reasons. Not even the wrestling. He went to my college and we were the same undergrad major and stuff. And I got to meet him. Just a cool, nice guy. And I remember, like, WWE, they always, like, he was always getting shit on or, like, losing, and then, like, would come back, and I was like, this sucks, dude. They're being so fucking annoying.
The whole crowd would chant John Cena sucks to the music of his entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, he's the fucking best. Fuck this. I was getting so mad.
He started embracing it, though, at the end. I thought it was pretty cool. Like, people started liking him because he was embracing it, and therefore they would still chant John Cena sucks, but he was enjoying it. Because it was kind of like Kurt Angle with the "you suck" thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, people chant "you suck" at you, but it's a good thing.
Listen, I think when you have 20 some odd thousand people chanting anything at you, it's pretty
feeling, dude.
Cool.
It's a feeling, man. Dude, I was lucky enough to be on stage. I've said this before on the story, but I was on stage for Billy Joel performing the Piano Man in an arena, a sold out arena in Florida. It was like Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
And dude, he stopped everything and the entire crowd sang the chorus. And it was like one of those sci-fi movies. Like, I got hit by this blast of energy and light, like, like I couldn't believe what I was hearing, dude. It was nuts. So I think that I've always had that fascination with just audience reactions, and pro wrestling is heavily dependent on that. Comedy is heavily dependent on that, and music, dude, which is the three things I love most. And trust me, I keep seeing people putting up shows in Texas. Like, I moved out here, and now most of the people that I met decided to move to Texas. I became very friendly with Tony Hinchcliffe, and I've been fortunate enough to be in circles of smoking blunts with Rogan and Chappelle. Like, those are good nights, and now they're all gone. So now, like, I had to sit there and like analyze, like, what am I going to do? Like, I have to keep making new friends. You know what I mean? I started talking to younger comedians and like, hey, they're leaving a void. You know what I mean? We have to go in there and take over the Comedy Store when it comes back.
Yeah.
All those dudes who are running that place are gone.
I didn't realize is he moving to Texas for good?
Tony's in Texas right now.
Yeah, I know they're there, but I didn't know that he moved the show there.
Yep. Permanent movement. Red Band moved first. And they didn't want to continue the show without Red Band. And he's the producer. He's the sidekick of the show to Tony.
Times.
So Tony moved. He still has his house out here in LA, but he's bought a new house out there, and they're going to be in LA for a while. And he took everybody. He took William Montgomery up there. He took fucking David Lucas. Everybody from the show except for the band. I think the band got they can't leave. Like, Jeremiah, I know he's the leader of the band. He's been doing great. Has got a special out on Amazon, all that stuff, and he's got a baby on the way and stuff, so he can't leave. And Joel can't leave, so I think they're just gonna get a new band out there or something. But he took the regulars, he took Red Band, and took the show out there. Fucking Rogan's out there. Bert and Tom are leaving, and Theo already. That's the Comedy Store is all those killers that were there every single night are gone. So now it's a whole new generation.
Don't you think once LA opens though again, they're just gonna come back?
Maybe. Depends. Maybe the big money guys, like, Joe and the guys who can afford to just bounce back and forth like that. Not a lot of people have that kind of money to just like uproot and move different states back and forth like that. I don't know. Especially the comedians that go to the comedy store, some dudes are just fucking sleeping in their car.
I mean, it definitely opens up opportunity for a lot more, at least 6 or 12 comedians, which is a lot, right? When you look at those lineups, you take those guys out, all of a sudden there's much more opportunity for people that, might have been later in the night or earlier in the night. Now they're going to have, more opportunity to shine, which gives other comedians the opportunity to get paid regular spots. And, while people flow through, I just don't know how long that lasts, when some of those guys out there, like, what that means. David Lucas is so fucking funny, right? But can he, just being part of Tony's show, can he make it being
outside of that?
It like what does that mean to those guys, and how long is that sustainable? Yet to be seen. I hope it's sustainable for them.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I thought that's one of the reasons I got hooked on that show and was like heavily interested in just being there, because it felt like NXT.
Yeah,
it was the Performance Center. It was young comics getting a minute of open mic time. Yep. And then every once in a while you'll get a star that shines out of there, and Tony's thankfully noticed and like, hey, you're a regular now. And then that gives them an opportunity to like be seen every week and work on their craft and write and stuff. So that to me was the most interesting part of that show concept. And I think there should be more shows like it. Like I know Tony's not going to let go of his concept, but I think there should be more shows like that actually respect comedy and stand-up comedy. Cause I know that there's like talent shows that are famous, like,
sure,
America's Got Talent and all that bullshit. Like all my friends that are not musicians, when I tell them like, oh, I was in a band for 10 years, they're like, why'd you go to America's Got Talent? Like, sure, buddy, whatever you want, man. I go up there.
Yeah, I can picture you performing for whoever the hell I don't even know who the judges are anymore. It's Howie Mandel, and you're just playing fucking metal and shit.
Exactly, dude. That's not gonna go well.
It's like, it's not your audience. Not your audience.
I hope it works out for those guys. It would just suck if that whole scene really shifts over to Texas.
Happening, dude. Rogan's buying a club.
Yeah.
He's gonna, and that's what I keep telling people. They're like, "Oh, Rogan's buying a club." I'm like, it's not gonna be the Comedy Store.
Right.
Can't really replace the Comedy Store.
Oh, no, definitely not.
There's magic in that room.
Oh, it's not just the magic in the room. It's no matter what you do, you are not going to transplant that much talent to Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. You're not. Yes, if 10, 15 guys move out there, 10, 15 guys moved out there, but there's probably a roster of 100 people that flow through the Comedy Store on a given week. Mm-hmm. 96 of them are fucking killers.
Yep.
Right. So I don't see it being that much of a threat. It just sucks that you took those guys out of the rotation.
Right. Yeah. I've seen it very much like WWE style. Like those guys now are gone and they're doing their thing on the main roster, and now we're just going to have all those dudes that have been working their ass off but not getting the spotlight, and now it's their time to step up.
Sure.
And take over. Get those spots at the store, make the lineup, worth going to see when things open back up. I'm ready for things to open back up because I'm tired of being home all the time, but I'm also precautious. I'm not the crazy like this is a hoax or whatever. Like I've seen people, I know people that have died from the virus, so I'm not gonna. I don't want it.
Yeah. No, I can tell you that I wasn't that scared of it, right? Mm-hmm. But now that I've lived through it and it's fresh the last 2 weeks, I can tell you don't want it, right? Like, and I was lucky. I had milder side symptoms, but people who say, oh, it's just the flu, you're fucking crazy. Like, it's not just the flu. The remnants are the worst part, which is what I'm living through. And I wouldn't want anyone to deal with this. Like, I was pretty active. You know, I box 3-4 days a week, aggressively box 3 or 4 days a week, go to the gym a lot. That's how I met Nick. There is zero chance I'm getting back into a gym or putting boxing gloves on. I would say on best case, a month, maybe 2 months. I mean, I couldn't go on a treadmill for 5 minutes now. Like, you don't want this. And I'm pretty fucking active.
Yeah. I think I've said this too, but I think I caught it during NAMM. And I don't know if you know what NAMM is, but NAMM is like the biggest musicians convention that comes here to Anaheim, California. And it happens every year, and I go every year, and that's how I set up a lot of the guests that I have on the show and all that. But right after NAMM, I always get sick every time. They call it NAMthrax, and and you caught the NAMthrax. But this last year, 2019, I came back particularly fucked up. Like 2 weeks in bed, couldn't breathe, couldn't smell, couldn't sleep, couldn't taste, couldn't do anything. And then for weeks after that, after I got out of bed for 2 weeks, I had a bad cough. And then like now I still occasionally will get a coughing fit for no reason. I'll just, and I'm like, I probably got it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. You should get tested.
No, I got tested and I didn't show up, but I didn't do the super thorough one where they.
No, I mean the antibody test.
The antibody test. Yeah, I got to check that out.
I mean, it's possible now that it's been. NAMM was in what? April, March, February, January. So yeah, it's probably they may not even show up. It could be gone and the antibodies be history, but that definitely.
Then they weren't looking for it back then, because I did go to the doctor after I got sick, and they were like, "Oh, you got the flu."
Well, the antibodies you have to get a blood test.
Yeah.
To see if you have them. And I've had plenty of friends who have gotten blood tests in routine yearly checkups in the last several months, all who wound up having antibodies and they didn't have any symptoms, or they said the same thing, I got sick in February, I just thought it was a flu, and it passed.
I think that's the biggest problem with this whole virus thing, is that nobody really knows. Everybody's reacting differently physically to the sickness, and nobody really has any concrete data like, hey, yeah, this is what it is and this is what we have to do. But that's kind of how it's always been with every sickness that we've ever, like, we're just trying to figure it out until it goes away. Like, that's how we found the vaccine. Vaccines work, and then some of them don't work, and then they improve on that. That's why we keep getting better flu shots, and they build up the immune till, like, we don't have polio anymore or the measles. So unless you don't vaccinate, so now we have a couple cases of that. But we have to get to that point, and some people are like outraged because it hasn't happened immediately. Like, it takes time, man. We should learn that we're fucking weak, frail fucking bags of organisms that you can get sick. You're not, I mean,
it's funny because I'm not in any way at all a conspiracy theorist at all.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single one that I would even give a thought to being, worth my time. Not that people who believe in those, there's anything wrong with them. I just don't find any worthwhile time looking at things like that. But I can tell you, I do think there's something interesting to this, that yes, it's a travesty that 400,000 people are going to die from this in a year, that 20 some odd million people are going to be sick. But at the same time, there's 320 million people in the United States, right? And there's been virtually very little done to, outside of the very initial lockdown, which was what, a month, 6 weeks, I think it lasted.
I don't remember.
For middle of
in
March.
In LA, we're about month 10 right now.
No, I know, but I mean, the government shutdown where they said everything has to close. That ended like mid-May. It's been kind of a free-for-all in the country, right? I know LA is a little different, LA County specifically, but even where we live, it's been open since the middle of May in some respect. Everything has been open. Indoor dining has been open since middle of June. Gyms have been open since middle of June. Full retail, live entertainment. You could go see a concert tonight if you wanted to, up to X amount of people, right? So it hasn't been this shutdown in a way that I think a lot of people feared, keep saying the government is shutting everything down. Well, they're not, right? In certain places they are. LA County, I understand. Like you can't go inside, you can't go outside, except for Governor Newsom. He can do what the fuck he wants. Everyone else can't. That's in a very small part of the country. And you still have, granted, widespread transmission, but it's not even 10% of the country in 10 months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm also on the other side who got fucking infected, and it sucks. You don't want to. But all things considered, if you look at the state of the country, it could have been,
better handled.
Better handled, no question.
No way.
So much worse. Like they scared the shit out of everyone. 2 million people are going to die, right? If we don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other thing. And you're not anywhere close to that, right? Does it suck? I mean, I have a couple of very good friends who have lost their parents because of it, and it's terrible. But on the grand scheme of things, the country didn't go into some great depression. Yes, there is too many people that don't have jobs. My mother lost her job, never getting it back. Definitely too many people got sick. Definitely there is a ridiculous problem, which is in my opinion, completely because the government's lack of doing anything. There is no way this fucking country should have as many homeless and people on food lines. No way.
Oof, dude, LA is so much worse now than it was before the pandemic. It was bad before.
So is New York City. New York City's homeless situation now is disgusting. And that is not a societal problem. That is 100% because of lack of response from the federal government and the state.
When I was born in Jersey and I grew up till I was like 15. I remember New York being like that, like a problem. Like it wasn't a vibrant city, all clean and whatnot. It was a fucking nightmare. And
until the mid 90s.
Yeah. So I guess we're just going back in time, right? Isn't that what they want? Isn't this the whole plan all along, to make America great again? Because everybody thinks the 80s were so fucking great.
Well, they think it's great because of I guess some version of capitalism.
Reagan? Was it Reagan? Because I think that's let's go back to Reagan days.
Like everybody wants to go back to those times, and I'm like, well, look at the stock market. The stock market hit its all-time fucking high yesterday. It's high. Like in the last 10 months, the stock market has gone up more than in percentage based than any other time in history. That's kind of fucked up, right? Like you're looking at the people who have the most money, right, benefiting the most from this pandemic in some form. Right. And then you have all of these people who can't feed their fucking family. And it took 8 months for the government to do anything about it. And what they did, in my opinion, which is kind of worthless, but was as small a job as they could have done. Yeah. $600 to people who can't feed what's going to happen next month? How are those people going to feed their fucking family?
Not only that, dude, they did a poor job of it. Like, I'll say it. Fuck it. My father got both stimulus checks, and he does not live in this country, nor is he a legal citizen.
Well, but he paid taxes. He paid taxes, I bet.
No,
he had to.
No,
he had to.
He went to.
Wait,
he has an active social security number. That's the only thing I think that.
I thought it was if you were a U.S. citizen and then you like left the country or went and lived somewhere else, you still have to pay U.S. taxes, don't you?
Yeah.
He snuck into this country and then did some stuff that got him in trouble. So now he can't come back to this country.
Gotcha.
He got himself he never was I don't think he got the citizenship. He went through the the resident card or whatever they call that.
Resident alien card.
Resident alien card. Yeah, he had one of those. I remember that. I remember he never got a passport. So when he told me he got the checks, I'm like, what?
He had to have done something though, because
what are you talking about?
the checks they didn't just get randomly mailed out. They were spurred on by something.
He has a social security card. That's what he told me. He was like, it's because I still have an active social.
He had to have paid taxes at some point. Had to have.
Illegally, maybe.
Anyway,
I don't know his business to the T, but he definitely did not qualify for this. Like, I have friends that are born here, that work here and pay their taxes. They haven't gotten one yet. and he got one, and it's my dad, so I should be supporting him. But wow, like, come on,
That's wild.
Yeah, I'm sure fucked up shit has happened. It's just the point, like
it's either side too. A lot of people, my friends, my Republican friends, are like, "You fucking Democrat." I'm like, I'm not Democrat. I'm not. I don't take either side. It's all fucked. It's all. We need to fix a lot of that. Like a lot of that whole system needs to get fixed before. Look, I'm Cuban. We come from that whole revolution mentality.
Sure.
The fucking Castro went and took over a whole country. Like that's revolution, not this shit that happened the other day.
Almost happened. I mean, they tried.
I guess.
Tried.
Look, man, I saw those fucking nerds in there with taking selfies. Get the fuck out of here. Those dudes are not doing shit.
Well, here's what I think is funny about that is, like if you want to have a coup, right, and you want to do something, leave your camera at home.
Why are you filming it? Why are you live streaming this right now?
Leave your fucking camera at home. Don't go into the Speaker of the House's office and take a fucking picture. Like, you're not going to get arrested within 2 days from the FBI. Like, we're at least have some level of intelligence. So to me, it's like, okay, these assholes got a little carried away and they thought they were going to make a social imprint and have some fun with it, not realizing they were providing everyone in social media hundreds of millions of impressions of evidence.
Yeah, like, I'm doing it for the gram. Hey, illegal activity though.
Dude, my favorite is, this is my favorite thing. People, I can't, either side. I'm with you. Like, I can't fucking deal with either side on the extremes. It's too much. I saw yesterday, and Greg, I think you know who it was, I won't say who, posted about how that group, there was a portion of the group of people that stormed into the Capitol that were there protecting the Capitol from Antifa people.
Yeah.
I think, right? So like, they stormed the Capitol, but like, obviously this person I'm talking about is on the right, far right. And they were like, yeah, but no one showed this. They were keeping Antifa people from getting in. It's like, no. They went into the Capitol. That's it.
Dude, listen.
There's no fucking, well, what about the, no. It's over. Just like when Black Lives Matter and all that, and you were getting all pissed about riots and protests.
Same thing.
It's the same shit. It doesn't matter. You're wrong. This is like when you get into an argument with someone and like that person loses their temper, you win, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is exactly what's happening. You're wrong. That's it. It's the end of the story. Dude. There's no, I'm not the brightest motherfucker, but like common sense, right? It's over for you guys. You're wrong. You're hypocritical. You stepped on your own shit. I'm not saying every Republican support.
Not everyone. No.
But same thing with Democrats. It's a very small, extreme percentage on either side. People think it's like the whole party. And unfortunately, sometimes it gets made out to be that way. But it's like, no, stop. This is it. You're wrong now. All the crying about the protests and the looting and everything. Like, they stormed the Capitol building in the United States. They should have been shot dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I told my buddy, they were like, why would they do that? And I'm like, it's jealousy. They saw the BLM riots and they wanted their own. That's it. They wanted to have their own riot.
I think, like, I know this is gonna sound fucked up. I think they should not prosecute these guys just out of sheer stupidity. Like
it'll give them more press.
Yeah, it's like, what?
It will make them more popular with the idiots that support them.
The guy who walked out of the fucking Capitol with the Speaker of the House's podium, smiling, taking these pictures like his friends are going to be impressed. I'm sure they will. You know who's going to be impressed? The big guys that are going to fuck you in the jail. Those guys, because I don't think you want to spend a day in, the jail outside Washington, D.C. or wherever the fuck they're going to put them. Those are not going to be white privilege jails.
No. Dude, I have a group of Cuban friends that I talk to on WhatsApp. They're all Republicans, and they sent me this clip of one of the senators talking during this whole thing, and he was saying how the rioters were actually Antifa going into the building. And then he sends me a picture to back up the claim, right? And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, that's John Schaefer from Iced Earth.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that picture of, right? Like, that was definitely him.
It's definitely him, and there's now a warrant out for his arrest. And he's a known like crazy right-wing extremist, like white nationalist fucking. He's not
Those were
Antifa,
not
guy. You
none
just proved yourself wrong with your own evidence to me. Like
none of those people were Antifa, dude. They all
there might be a sprinkle or two, like one or two idiots from Antifa that are dummies.
Sure.
There's dummies on every side, so there
Sure.
might have been one or two, but it wasn't all of them. It was
My
mostly
favorite-
supporters
My favorite was the white woman who got interviewed and was like,
with the onion in her hand.
she got maced, and she's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got maced. It's like you should be dead.
You should be dead.
If I had a friend that ran in the Capitol building, I'd be like, they maced me. I'd be like, you're a fucking moron, dude. You should have been shot. The military should have been there.
Yep.
God, I wish I was like a Secret Service agent in the military. I'd be like, finally, here we go. Time
If
to
you
work.
if you go to a fucking airport and you bum rush fucking the security side
You're
of the
getting
airport,
shot.
someone is shooting you. You are going to leave, if not in a body bag, with holes in you.
Well, one
It's
of them
gonna
died,
happen.
right? One lady got shot and died.
Five people.
Five
Five people died yesterday.
Yeah.
So, like, you want to? It just blows my mind that I don't know. Anyway.
Hey, that lady you brought up. Did you see the Animaniac supercut?
No.
He pushed me on and maced me.
I love. I just can't
the
get
internet
over.
is so quick.
Oh, so quick. I just can't get over the fact that she was like, "How they maced me." It's like, of course they did.
Yeah, you should
was
have
I used to-
lost your teeth to a rubber bullet.
Yeah. I used to be a bouncer at nightclubs here in Connecticut, and people get maced for way less.
Way less. Way less.
Like you start fighting and throwing bottles. Guess what? You're getting maced by a cop. It's
So
over.
I'll tell you a funny story. So remember the riot when the riot started about in Atlanta during all the BLM stuff, and they were trying to break into the CNN building. I don't know if you saw.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
So where they were actually breaking into the CNN building is technically the CNN building, but it's a hotel, right? And I've stayed in that hotel, and I got in trouble like I was in high school from a security officer in there because I slid down the escalator, like the
the
armrest of the escalator. Now, I'm not a teenager, and I just slid thinking it would be funny, and they wanted to arrest me for sliding down the fucking escalator like I was a punk 8th grader, right?
Wow.
And so I'm like watching this with these people bashing in the front of that literally 10 feet in front of where I slid down this escalator, which is basically a food court, right? That's what it is. It's a food court. And I'm like, oh my God, these people are trying to bash in this place. And these cops are standing there like just kind of waiting it out, right? Where a month ago, I almost got arrested for sliding down a fucking
yeah, it's really weird, man. It's really weird. Like I saw a bunch of footage from that, like when they were breaking into the Capitol. There's one specific. There's one video everybody's seen, I'm sure, that has the one security guard dude at the stairs, and like they just keep pushing him. Like he keeps moving back, and they're moving forward. I'm like, the second they go through that doorway, you bash him in the face with a baton. What are you doing? That's how you stop the rest of them. Break heads, and they'll stop coming in.
Well, because I think so much fear has been brought on to the police department because of this bullshit. I'm sorry to say, defund the police movement, and every cop now has to watch their back for doing the right thing. And now there, in my opinion, too much of the police, being fearful that they're going to get in trouble for excessive force, when that guy, in my opinion, and hopefully lots of other people, should have had every right to swing that baton as hard as he fucking could to protect himself and the Capitol building.
There's also the discussion that it was one black security guard versus a mob of angry white dudes.
Yeah, true. But you know what I think would be worse is that he didn't try to protect himself.
Yeah,
well, imagine like it's like you can't fucking win, especially not like you said with the police. Imagine if these cops really they did something sort of. They got to at least hide senators and Congress people and like protect them. Imagine if a few senators or Congress people got killed. the first thing people are saying on both sides, how the cops didn't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they're fucking scared to now. They don't know. They don't.
Weren't you
that's
chanting
like,
to defund them earlier?
I don't even like.
It's such an obvious thing. It's such an obvious thing. Like, you storm a government building, that's it for you. It's over.
Yeah.
Like, you should, you know what you're doing. Like,
We had a whole war about it, guys.
Yeah,
And
I
they
know.
lost.
Lots of wars. I, the whole defund the police thing. I'm going to come off sounding like I'm a right-wing Republican, which I am completely the opposite.
He is not. I can attest.
I think is the most absolute a bunch of horse shit on in the last 12 months. I truly do, and I hopefully I'm not offending you if you feel otherwise.
No. I have people that come at me with the ACAB thing that all cops are bastards. Like, I don't agree with that at all.
I think it's insane, and the way I say it, and everyone has a different version of what defund the police means. To the person that really has no idea, they think it's taking away money out of the police department and having less cops on the street. It's not that. But my question to those people is, do you want to live in a neighborhood where the police have been defunded?
No, and it's
just
not
yes or no.
Yeah,
it's
not
simple,
a defund. It's not defund the police. We need to reform or whatever. Like, they need to train. They need to get some training.
It's better training, 100%.
Yeah.
There's no question that every police department in the country could go through some better training practice.
Yeah, they need to be able to learn discipline and how to control themselves. Like, take some jujitsu and take some fucking, Muay Thai and learn how to do self-defense without fucking killing someone because you're nervous.
Yeah. Or being able to see, people who clearly have racial issues.
Right. Psychological examinations.
Exactly. Like, those are areas where you need to have more training in and more resources dedicated to, right? Mm-hmm. Because you can't afford to have a racist cop on your police force, whether you're in a small town or a big town. If there's one racist cop, that's too many racist cops. Right.
I grew up hating the cops because I grew up in, obviously a criminal family, but in New Jersey, in that neighborhood I was in, the cops were all just the bullies that grew up and became cops, and they would come back to beat us up. And it was that's what I grew up with. But as I started becoming an adult and seeing what being in situations that required the police to show up and assist, I realized, like, no, they're not all bastards. A lot of them come and want to do good things.
They are.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say was, they do. I don't want to say they do the dirty work, but like, they see the worst in society all day, every day, and it's the shit that, not to be a dick, but a lot of the liberal young people in New York whose parents pay their rent, they've never been through anything bad enough. They're like, why are they being mean? And it's like, what if you got attacked by someone? Like, what do you they keep the lid on the bad people. That's how it goes. Like, you need some sort of force.
That's toxic masculinity, man. How dare you?
Fuck that. It's you need something, right? My buddy who's a cop said, he summed up his job. He goes, yeah, it's the customer service industry, except everyone fucking hates you and no one's happy when you show up. He's like, that's what being a cop is. He goes, you see the worst shit, right? Shit that we can't even fathom. And they keep the lid on crazier people. And I don't mean to draw this comparison, but this is the most extreme analogy I can give. Iraq, right? We went into Iraq. Saddam Hussein was a crazy person, right? He's insane.
Yes.
They get rid of him, and they got rid of him, and what happened? Even crazier people popped up because they were scared of him, and they were like, "Fuck, we gotta hide, like keep our shit." They got rid of him, and the crazier fucks rose up. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like the cops need to beat everyone down and all that shit, but like you don't understand. There's levels to certain things, and we need to have a civil society. Like there's been times where cops had zero power. Yeah. I mean, you could even look in New York City in the 70s, and the mafia controlled everything. They could do whatever they want. Right now, it's not like that. Giuliani did that systematically. Some say controversially, but it fucking worked. It worked, man. So I don't know. Murders down. Like, people are getting killed less. That's what you want in a city, right? Like, now all the bad parts of New York City have fucking breweries and kombucha places and shit. So I think it worked. You know what I mean?
Not for me, bro. I want that grimy ass New York. I want that dangerous East Village area. Like, no,
It's funny to me.
There
it's
is
funny to
nostalgia,
me.
but
Yeah. No, I was saying it's funny to me that because I mean I came along. I started going to the city when I was like a few years ago when I was in my 20s, and so I don't know that New York City.
I know it.
My father, yeah, you know it. My father knows it. I'd be like, yeah, we went to Studio 54. It was because the place down there was gross. He goes, but we used to go there. He goes, we really avoided the city. My father grew up in like Westchester. He's like, we went in once in a while, but it was like really scary. He was like, it was fucked up back then. And I was like, the East Village? This is dope. Like, look at all these restaurants and hipsters.
It's not so much.
He's like, no, it wasn't that. He's like, it's completely different.
Oh, it's even from when I moved to New York City in the early 90s, right? 92 or 93. And even then, Times Square was still gross, right? Like gross. Like you did not go to Times Square to hang out. Like there was no bubblegum shrimp in the center of Times Square. The Gap was not there. It was just littered with porn places and
video spots
and the Howard Johnsons. That was it, right? There was really no good reason to go to Times Square unless you were passing through to go to the theater. Right? Like a teenager, if the teenager said to their parents, oh, I'm going to go hang out in Times Square, it's like you're doing something wrong, right? Like your parents instantly knew you were not going there for good
You're getting
reason,
in trouble.
right? And New York City stopped at 96th Street. Like if you went above 96th Street in New York City in the early to mid 1990s, you were taking your life in your hands. So people would think, right? That's where the projects were. That's where Harlem is. Like over 96th Street, bad. And when all the people, like the kids from college would move to the city, they'd move to, most of them, the Upper West or Upper East Side, because that was the cheapest place to live because it was so close to the border of what was considered safe. Now, that's how many years ago? 30 years ago? 20 some odd years ago? That doesn't exist. And that changed solidly 10 years ago. There was nothing else considered bad in New York City. There was no more bad parts of New York City come 2005. Didn't exist. You couldn't live in a bad part of town. So then people started going out to Brooklyn. And then Bushwick, like when I moved to New York City, if you went to Bushwick, Brooklyn, and you were a white dude, you were not coming home because you were either going to get arrested because they thought you were there to buy drugs. A cop would arrest you and would not believe you were not there, or someone's going to fucking kill you. You don't belong there, right? Now it is just littered with,
ramen.
Like did you say ramen
shops?
Yeah, ramen shops and kombucha.
Exactly, dude. Yeah,
right?
What is it? What is it for kombucha? It's fermentaries.
Oh god,
like
Boochcraft, bro.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we're talking about this or why.
Because we were talking about how the change in New York, man. Because I remember the first time I went back after I had moved out, I went to my buddy's like, "Hey, man, we're gonna go to a bar in Hoboken." I'm like, "No, we're not." And they were like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, I've gone there. We used to live there. No, thank you."
Hoboken's that's the thing. Is first time I ever went to Hoboken. It was 2012.
Yeah,
so fun.
Well, yeah, it's a college town. Yeah, so many bars.
That's what I mean. I don't even know that side of things.
Yeah, but that's a long time ago. Hoboken, it basically it was right around the time I moved to the city. That's when people started infiltrating Hoboken and Weehawken because it was the closest, cheapest place to live in Jersey, and then it just became gentrified, right?
It was so fun.
But
I'm thinking about a girl I dated back when I was 25 that she lived there.
Nick just got hard.
For a year. No, dude, I went like I don't know. Like I'm like people are like, oh, dude, Jersey, Hoboken used to be bad. I'm like, really?
Yeah, so I remember now the Bronx too. The Bronx. When I used to go to the Bronx to go see a Yankee game, it was dangerous. Like my dad was like with a knife in his pocket, ready to holding my hand and dragging me like gotta run into the stadium.
Oh yeah, getting off the subway. If you came off the subway and went right as opposed to go left, it was like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. So I remember now when I went to visit, we're going to go to this brewery. I'm like, what brewery? What are you talking about?
They're brewing beer in the Bronx?
What? Yeah, they have a taco truck inside, bro. It's awesome. Like,
dude, I went to a few years back. I went to Greenpoint in Brooklyn, and I remember walking around and like you could see it used to be a primarily Italian, Polish, and Puerto Rican neighborhood. I think there was a lot of like there were all these like new fancy things. Then there were like old like Polish delis and like Puerto Rican like Hispanic grocery stores and like but all like these white kids walking around and shit. But you could tell like the old timers were there like on the corner like
smoking a cigarette.
In sweatsuits. There's like 5 guys just sitting outside. And I was like, this is the weirdest shit that like this is all in the same. Like I'm so confused.
Yeah. It's like when where I used to hang out mostly was the East Village when I was in, my 20s. The East Village, a little bit in the West Village and Soho, but we used to spend a lot of time going to the rock clubs, CBGB's and the Continental and Coney Island High and all those places on St. Mark's, which was so gritty, right? And still not touristy. Like it had not like tourists had not yet found St. Mark's Place, right? And that was so much fun to like hang out there and just kind of like the way the comedy is in LA, where you can bounce from comedy club to comedy club if you wanted to. That's how that area of the city was. You could bounce from the Continental to Coney Island to Bowery Ballroom to CBGB's, all within a quick shot of each other. And it was so cool because it was still gritty, right? And it still felt kind of dangerous, but it wasn't dangerous like you're going to get hurt dangerous, but it just had that rock and roll danger element to it because that still existed. Right. And that's all gone now too. Like it's all gone.
Yeah. It's been a tough transition to see. And it's getting worse with the pandemic thing. Everybody, rock and roll is slowly dying. Like very few people are making it through this thing. Venues that are closed down, all this shit. I know I'm going to give a shout out to Every Time I Die. If you haven't, I think it's too late now because it's not on demand or whatever, but they did a live stream. And I haven't been a fan of these live stream concerts because we were talking about earlier, I don't like that there's no audience. So what they did though was make a sketch comedy show blended with their performances. So like you're watching,
cool.
Yeah. So like you watch a sketch and then because their singer, Keith, actually got a job working for Comedy Central as a writer. He writes incredible lyrics, like very poetic, very aggressive music, but the lyrics are always poetic and stuff. So
yeah, I like them.
And he got a job at Comedy Central, so I can see that now. Like I'm sure he called a couple friends and they put together this sketch show with him. And then the guitarist Andy's in AEW. He's the fucking Butcher.
No, really?
Yeah, dude. The Butcher is the guitar player for Every Time I Die.
Get out.
Yeah.
Shit.
Dude, I had him on the podcast about a year before he got picked up by AEW. And he was like ranting and raving about how much he loves wrestling. Oh man, that's my fantasy. That's my dream. I hope I can do it one day. And then one day I turn on AEW and he's on there. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's awesome. Yeah,
I did it.
I hadn't watched any Zoom music stuff except for back in, I think it was May, a buddy of ours, Harley Flanagan from the Cro-Mags. You know
I know the Cro-Mags. Yeah.
I think he was the first one to really do a live Zoom full-on concert that they did from SIR Studios in New York City. Nice. And it was actually awesome. They debuted their new record, I believe, or the new single. And it was really good, but it's because, I think it's because it's like aggressive. Yeah. And to watch guys who are aggressive on stage, it makes it easier to watch like a Zoom. I couldn't see sitting down watching a singer-songwriter on on Zoom unless it was trying to like put me to sleep. And nothing against singer-songwriters. I like a handful of them, but it's not Zoom for me.
It's forcing people to be more creative, I think. It's like band Behemoth put on an amazing live stream concert where they went and they found this abandoned church. I don't know if you know Behemoth, but they are like very visually very anti-Christy, satanic, right. Yep. So they set up this church with crazy like fire and like performers. Those chicks that get wrapped up in the thread or whatever, and they do like dance type of thing. They got a bunch of those, and they got people that do the suspension shit where they put hooks in your back and they hang you. So they put this crazy like chick hanging like getting hung in fire and extra satanic-y entertainment. Right. So but it was a production. It was like a movie almost. That's what you need to do. I don't want to see your fucking bedroom. I've seen a lot of these Zoom live stream dudes performing in their bedroom in their sweatpants. Like, I'm okay, I'm good, thanks.
Let me get my guitar. Hold on.
Oh man. Well, anyway, I'm gonna cut it now. It's
All right.
longer than normal. We got an hour and 18. I usually
Holy shit.
Yeah. But I appreciate you guys. Everybody listening, please check out the Mangina Dialogues. If you enjoyed what you heard today, check out, what you guys have online. Like, give us, where do people need to go to check you guys out?
I mean, it's available on every podcast platform or YouTube, the Mangina Dialogues. We have a webpage, themanginadialogues.com. Has all of our links to everything, plus all our episodes are there too, to watch or listen to. You can follow Nick at Nick Scopes on Instagram. If you DM him, he will send you a sticker.
Nice.
Sticker,
nice
or
sticker.
a fridge or a refrigerator magnet. Sticker.
Good call.
Refrigerator magnet.
Oh, I have one in my pocket. Do I have my sticker in my pocket? I don't. It's so good though.
I have it on my computer. It's staring at me. But
yeah, you can go to. You're gonna bait me into fucking saying it, but you can go to me at the Gregolicious.
Yeah.
Oh, ew, fuck
On
you.
Instagram or
Never change,
Grindr,
Gregolicious.
whatever.
Nah, fuck that. Shame.
I wrote a song about me once called that.
Nice.
And that's kind of it. I mean, listen, man, we really appreciate you having us on.
Sure.
We could obviously keep talking about shit forever, and I'm not that political, to be honest.
Well, we'll talk
much
more
rather
for
talk
sure.
about
We'll,
music.
we'll definitely do this again. I mean, and if you guys are watching this, I was a guest on their show, so make sure you tune in and check that out and hear part one of this entire conversation, I guess, if you want to call it.
It's
So,
a two-part series. You got to listen to them both at the same time.
two-part series. Play them at the same exact time. So
Exact same time.
Smoke
It's
some weed and just let it happen.
And if you want, you can DM me, and I will send you both recordings, but backwards, so you can listen to those while watching Pink Floyd The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon at the exact same time, while watching Wizard of Oz on your cell phone.
Hey, there's nothing else going on with this pandemic.
Nothing.
Might as well do it, right?
Nothing, man. All right, brother.
Hey, Jake, take care, guys. Thank you again for having me on your show. Thanks for being guests here. We'll talk later.
Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers.